Well, hey, and welcome to the Boles of Life podcast. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Virginia. As we've gone through life, we've learned something important.
Life is messy. There are a lot of armchair experts out there who will try and tell you how to make life simple.
But it's not, so you won't find any of that here. Instead, you'll find everyday people who have jumped into the mess of life and are making an adventure of it.
Yes, we got it.
We did it. High five.
2 times in a row. You guys didn't hear the first time, but we got it 2 times in a row.
Without notes.
Without notes. So if you're watching, you'll notice that we're in a very different location. If you're listening only, you may notice some slight differences in audio or even the occasional sounding of a leather couch rubbing against each other. That's because we're not at home. We're on vacation right now.
Yeah, this nice wallpaper gives it away that we're not home.
Yeah. Well, where are we vacationing at?
We are technically in Whittier, North Carolina.
Whittier.
Which is in between Bryson City and Dillsboro.
Yes, Dillsboro.
Dillsboro doesn't mean anything to me until we got here.
Yeah, none of these really meant much. Bryson City sounded vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's your point of reference for where we are. We've been up here for 5 days?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tomorrow's day
6?
Day 6?
Yeah,
day
including
6?
travel days. Yeah.
Yes, including travel days. We are traveling
7,
home.
technically.
No, we left on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 days.
We've lost track
6
because we've
days.
been here the whole week.
Yes, we
Monday through Saturday.
rarely take long vacations, so it's been nice.
Mm-hmm.
We are vacationing without our daughter, which
Yes.
is weird.
Yeah, we miss her.
Yeah, we do.
But we're okay. We made it.
We talk about her a lot, and so it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten photos.
We've gotten plenty of videos and photos, and
That's been good.
yeah.
Well, what all have we been doing on vacation?
Well, we've kind of just been exploring, taking it day by day, because we didn't come with a super, thought out plan.
Or a plan at all?
Yeah, which is really nice. I had an idea of some things we could do, but it was an 8-hour drive.
Yes.
So we drove here on Monday, and we listened to podcasts a good bit of the way. Only napped a little bit.
You did only nap a little bit. That's true.
Yeah, and on Tuesday we went to the Oconaluftee Indian Village.
What up? Have you been practicing that in your head?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, I mean, every time I see it, I try to say it. So
that was impressive. Good job.
And that was our first hike, about 3 miles, very easy trail, but we got to see some elk.
Yeah, like really close up and in person.
Yes. So we got to see a big daddy elk with big old horns, and
he's just laying around chilling.
then as you drove a little bit further we were in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
Yes.
They protect their elk, and there was a herd of elk
in a field,
which was really cool. But yeah, so after we did that, we did some horseback riding. We rode on the Great Smoky
yeah, you were saying
Great Smoky Mountains Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Klingman's Dome, which was the highest point. It's not the highest point, it was the highest point in the area, so you can see all around you.
It's like 6,600 feet elevation, something like that.
Yeah, so really high up there. And today we did some hiking. We saw a cemetery,
yes,
a family cemetery up in the mountains.
It was somewhat anticlimactic considering it's a big sign like cemetery and pointed us up.
It was a small sign.
It was a sign.
It was a small sign.
Sure. So it pointed us up a hill, and we climbed all the way to the top of a mountain, basically, to find a family cemetery of 3 potentially children, just based on the size.
Super creepy, but we climbed to the top of the mountain.
We did. That was fun.
That was the cool part. And then this afternoon, we've just been chilling, and now here we are. We leave tomorrow for our 8-hour trip home.
Yeah. So we thought we would break up our wellness series a little bit with something that still has a little bit to do with wellness.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about rest. We're going to share some Hebrew words with you, because why not? And a few practical ways to find some rest.
Okay, so Tyler, I'm curious, what has been your, favorite part of the vacation?
Favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
I always really enjoy hiking. I don't know that it's even... I like nature, and that's cool and everything. I probably mostly enjoy the process of succeeding at a goal And so typically hiking gives you a goal. It's an in or an out or a loop or something like that. So,
up a mountain,
up a mountain,
lake or creek or river.
Yeah, that's always a win for me.
Yeah,
I like those parts.
Yeah. And speaking of nature, it is absolutely gorgeous here.
Yes.
Because the fall leaves, like they've turned colors and they are at their peak. Now, I mean, I wasn't here last week and I won't be here next week to say for sure, but from what everybody seems to be saying and from what I can tell, it is beautiful. Orange, red, still summer green, yellow. I mean, just gorgeous. Like the best fall views ever.
Yeah. No, it was perfect.
Yeah. The hikes have been amazing. We've only done a couple of hikes, but still, like,
good.
Beautiful. Okay, mine.
Yes, your highlight.
Oh, I just feel like I've enjoyed it so much. Today's hike was really cool. Like, I love the horseback riding. I think it was cut a little short because we only did an hour ride. And, like, when I get on a horse, I want to ride it. I don't want to just, like, walk behind somebody else on a trail. But luckily it was just me and you. So we had us and the guide.
Yeah.
So that was cool because I do like to ride a horse. But as far as like kind of cool things we got to do, the hike today was really fun because we were only going to go like 2 miles. And then we saw that cemetery sign. So I was just wanting to do one somewhat, vigorous, hard hike. So adding that trail to the cemetery was exactly that, because I had to stop every couple of minutes and take a breath. And once we got to the very top, you were like steep climbing.
Yep.
Not climbing, but hiking.
Yeah, steep walking, hiking.
Just for a couple 100 feet, and then you were there at the top. Now you couldn't see like, other mountains, but you could tell you were at the top.
Yep. No, it was cool. It was fun. We did, when we were on our horse ride, we got to ride through 2 little rivers, which I thought was really cool. It was like almost the first thing we did. I was not yet adjusted to being in a saddle. I've never really ridden a horse, and all of a sudden there's a small river, and we're about to traverse it, and I was like, I'm super not ready for this, but here we go. That
probably made me the most nervous because, I mean, like, I could feel my horse like slip on a rock.
Yeah.
And I don't love that. There's some, like, I mean, I'm glad the horses get to ride, and do things every day. But then there's a part of me that feels like I want them to be free, not to have to carry people around every day. So I had like, I felt for them a little bit. But luckily, we were easy people to take alongside and go through a river.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. They walked right on through it. They weren't resistant, so it was fine. They were cool. Yeah. Yeah,
so the train ride was really awesome. It was kind of rainy on Thursday, so we took the train ride, which was like a 4-hour trip. An hour and a half of it was shopping in Dillsboro, but from Bryson City to Dillsboro. And so you got to see a lot of the, like, foliage, some houses, got some history lessons from the conductor. So that ended up being really cool. I thought it was going to be a waste of our money, but it was raining, so there was not a whole lot we could have done otherwise.
Yeah.
So
hiking in the rain, probably not great.
Like, the Lord seriously came in and blessed us on that, because we were buying the tickets the night before, and online you can only see so many. Like, you could see the seats, and whatever was open was what you chose, and like, there was nothing. There was like one here and one there, and we wanted to sit together.
Obviously. Clearly,
yeah. And we put it down, and we're like, okay, let's figure something else out to do. And I just had this thought of like, let me open it back, because somebody could have canceled. And what happened was, I think, because you only had 10 minutes. Once you like booked your seats, you only had 10 minutes to check out. I'm sure that's what happened. Somebody didn't, they closed out after the 10 minutes or before the 10 minutes. And so their seats came open. And we got her some seats. But then when we get on the train, they apparently had some seats open that they left open for spacing, we believe.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that made sense.
Had the space to ourselves.
We did.
There's like 4 seats in a...
Like chairs looking at each other.
Yeah.
We had nobody sitting across from us.
So we didn't have to like knock knees with somebody else.
Yep. It worked out.
So that was really cool. And then Klingman's Dome, I just want to say this. It was a very steep hike up a paved pathway. I would have rather hiked on the ground, but that was my bad for not realizing that we had that option, or like what the options were. But it was so cold, and the hike was not the hike. I mean, it was a hike, but it was paved.
Straight up the hill.
Was so steep
straight
that
up the mountain.
I didn't love it, and I mean, it was nice once you got up there. It was cool, but like at that point, I was ready to come down and be done with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got over it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It was all right. It was very foggy and overcast that day, so you really couldn't see super far, but we still climbed to the highest elevation in the area, so whatever.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was cool.
So, just for those who still don't really know where we are, if you know where Gatlinburg is, like, we're on the other side of the Great Smoky Mountains in North Carolina.
Yes.
So, we decided to come to the mountains because we love the mountains.
Always.
We wanted to get away and do some hiking. We love nature. We kind of connect with God mostly through nature. I feel like I do, at least. I won't speak for Tyler.
Yeah. I enjoy it for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like the achieving process of it just as much as any of the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just be real.
And we came across a nice little Airbnb. We haven't talked about what we're staying in
yeah,
yet.
Our Airbnb that we're hanging out in.
We're in this tiny little Airbnb that, it's an Airbnb, like, but it's not like an actual bed and breakfast, in case anybody knows anything about Airbnb.
Yep.
But it's in a residential area. It's like in the backyard of this person's house, and it's a tiny.
Yeah, it's
probably. I
probably.
wouldn't even call it a cabin.
Yeah, it's less than 400 square feet, if I had to guess.
Like,
and that is my guess.
From here to the door, and then there's a bedroom and a bathroom. Like, it's tiny. There's not even a kitchen.
Yeah, no, there's
like
nothing.
not even a kitchen sink. Like, there's a bathroom sink, but we brought our little camper burner, so because I like to cook and it's cheaper to cook, so we brought a little camper burner. There was a pancake griddle. There is a grill outside, but we didn't use that. For a little tiny refrigerator. I mean, it is just like.
And it's kind of
tiny.
She said in a residential area. It's not a residential so much. It's in somebody's backyard, but it's literally up a hill, up a mountain.
Yeah, what I meant by that is just like it's in somebody's backyard, but yeah, like you drive a half mile.
Yep.
Up. Once you pull into their driveway, it's probably 3/4 of a mile from the road. Up into the mountain, like into the mountain, up the hill,
up this gravel driveway,
feeling like you're gonna start sliding backwards, and in this person's like backyard, but it is beautiful here, and I'm like, and we're nestled right next door to the house of the owner, and they have a big, beautiful home. So I'm like, can we please come visit your home? Like, I just want to walk in because it's big. But this place is so tiny. But yeah, it's been a nice little stay. We're the type of people that are okay with, like, it doesn't have to be this big, luxurious stay. We kind of like it, we kind of like to rough it a little bit. Like, we've always liked camping. So this is kind of like the next step up from camping. Maybe next 2 steps up. Because it's not quite a cabin, but more than that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we've been here very little anyway, so why spend a bunch on the place we stay?
Yeah, we've been gone all day long.
We're not going to be here.
Sleep here, and sometimes we eat a meal. So
it was good.
It's been good. So that's what we've done on our vacation, what we've enjoyed. We just wanted to share that with y'all, and now...
Yeah, now, right after this quick break, we'll dive into talking a little bit about those 2 Hebrew words and a couple of practicals. Alright, so 2 Hebrew words for you. If you've been in church much in your life, you've probably at least vaguely heard these words before. They're pretty common Hebrew words in Scripture, thus they're ones that'll end up in sermons from time to time. Shabbat Shalom is kind of a phrase of 2 words. Let's talk about the shalom one first. So shalom, most often when you hear it, somebody's going to kind of translate it to mean peace. And it does. But when I hear peace, or let me ask it this way, Virginia, what do you think of when you hear the word peace? You weren't prepped for this.
I was not prepped for this. But For me, one who seeks peace in, her conversations and relationships, as a peacemaker. No conflict, clearly. I feel like there's, like a feeling that you have, like when making a decision for your family or for yourself, you hear people say, I feel at peace about it. I attribute that to the Holy Spirit, but just kind of that feeling of like, this is right. I'm good with this. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So that's kind of what I think of when I think of peace. Peace with others is, not necessarily no conflict, but just being able to work through the conflict peacefully, nicely, kindly. Ideally would like to be without conflict, but that's not real life. So I guess that's kind of what I think of. I don't know if that's a great explanation, but
no, it was good.
That's my initial thoughts, since you didn't prep me for that.
Right, no, and that's all I was looking for. So for me, when the word peace initially is said, like the first thing, world peace, like those kind of phrases come to mind. Making fun of miscongeniality, world peace, and they do it over and over again. So that's the kind of thing that comes to my mind, and I think some of that mentality is wrapped up in the word shalom, but I don't think it fully depicts kind of what's meant to be depicted. So when you think of shalom, yes, peace is a word for it, but more think in the direction of like complete or whole. Like your life is full of all of these different moving parts. And when you have shalom, it's because all of the moving parts are there where they're meant to be. They're in their spot, and because of that, you have a completeness, a wholeness. So the opposite is also true. If there's ever something that's missing from your life, like rest, you therefore cannot have shalom in your life if you don't have rest.
Yeah, I think that I learned more about that when we watched a Bible Project video on shalom. So just for those that want more detail on that, go watch the Bible Project video on shalom. And I don't know if you were getting to this yet, but how do will we ever feel that complete fullness and peace on this earth? Jesus definitely gives us that ability to, I guess, to have some of that.
I think there are some moments in life where you can, but I think it's somewhat rare.
Yeah. Like definitely because of Jesus, we're able to experience it, right?
Yeah. So that was shalom. Obviously, the other word in Shabbat Shalom is Shabbat, or as we transliterate it into English, it's Sabbath. So the seventh day. Seventh day Sabbath, just fun information. I guess fun might not be the word, but information for you. The Sabbath, taking the Sabbath, wasn't prescribed for us until the laws of Moses. Before that, there's no like prescribed, hey, you have to take rest on the seventh day. Now you do see that in creation, obviously, that God took a rest, and the whole reason the Sabbath is given in the Mosaic laws is to call back to what God did there. So the Sabbath, in essence, isn't just a day for you to be able to go to church and worship God. It's a day for you to worship God through the remembrance of what He did in the past in creation. It's a day to find comfort in the present of just knowing who He is and what He does for us. And it's also a day to give us hope for the coming future of new creation through Jesus. So when you take shalom, this idea of being whole and complete, and you add it with the word Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom basically means to find, or excuse me, I'm going to restart it. Shabbat Shalom basically means may you be restored to wholeness on the blessed Sabbath. Or in other words, it's because you're finding this rest in this moment, you're finally able to reach this this complete, this wholeness, this piece of shalom that you're not going to find in other parts of life without having rest there. Because I think rest is almost the antithesis of everything else we do. We tend to be so like do a thing, complete a thing. Like even in our vacation, my highlight was I got to complete hikes. Like I'm accomplishing something. Rest is not, it's just not natural for us, I feel like.
Yeah.
Our default isn't to rest. Our default is typically to do more.
Be productive.
Until we exhaust ourselves. And I don't even know that exhausted rest is real rest. That's just recuperation.
As a phrase I've heard recently from friends in D group is, okay, I'm going to try and get it right. Don't rest from work, but work from rest. So in other words, when we rest, like we think about that we are always working for the weekend, right? When we rest, it shouldn't be that we're so exhausted that like we're having to like just take off of work and find some little bit of rest on the short amount of time that we have, but more so the work that we do should be it should flourish and be cultivated because of the rest that we are taking. That's kind of the way that I would explain it. Maybe there's another way you can explain it, but that's kind of how I thought about it, because it's just a cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
In a world that tells us to produce, sometimes, God tells us to stop and rest.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, so let's talk about how to find rest, because
we're on vacation. We wanted to talk about this, so here we are.
So I think we've got 7 different practices to kind of Sabbath, to rest. I will give Tim Keller his credit. This list I think I adapted from an article he wrote that I'll try to link if I can find it. It's been a second.
Yeah.
But I'll try to link that in the show notes.
For other resources we can learn from.
Absolutely. So hit us with the first one.
Okay. So one of the first practices for rest could be no tech time.
Yes.
No technology.
No technology.
No technology, like not even my refrigerator.
No technology in the sense of, let's just narrow it down to the thing we need to specifically talk about, your smartphone.
Yeah.
Not
Internet,
having,
social media.
yes, all of that right in front of you. I was listening to...
Though being out in the wilderness and not even having a refrigerator is not a bad idea either.
Yeah, there's some bonuses. Yeah, there's some wins there. But yeah, no, I was listening to somebody recently talking about, have some moments where there is no screen time, because what we tend to do is if we've got our screen nearby, we feel every single crack with screen time. So we turn the water on to get in the tub, and we gotta wait for it to get hot because it's the middle of winter, and so it's extra cold, so it takes a minute longer. And we open up our phone, we open Instagram or whatever your favorite social media is, and all of a sudden it's been 10 minutes. And you're like, what? I was just scrolling.
Well, yeah, but even like, not even that you didn't, like you just wasted 10 minutes, or that, 10 minutes just passed by quickly. It's just the fact that like you weren't able to wait. So it takes that, what do they call it? Instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
You get that instant gratification of like not being bored.
Yes. But
it's so good for the brain. I won't even go into this because I don't have the knowledge right now to talk about it. But like to actually be bored and be still and be quiet. The things that your brain can do from that, the creative things your brain can do from boredom or waiting or stillness. It's actually really cool when you start learning about that. Yeah,
I'd encourage you to Google, I think it's called the Boredom Challenge. It's been a while since I looked at it, but the Boredom Challenge, it talks about doing things like boiling a pot of water and literally just watch it and let your mind wander in that moment.
Or this is not from what you read, but ride in a car with absolute silence, like no radio, no podcast.
Those are good moments.
We need that silence. And that's something I do naturally just because my speakers don't work in my car. But it's nice. And I can get muddled up really quickly, so I kind of like that. But anyways, that side note. Let your kids get bored too and see what they figure out.
That's when creativity happens.
Yeah.
Another reason for no tech, Proverbs 4:23, you may be familiar with, says, "Guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life." Or, man, what we're putting in is what comes out. And if we're just constantly putting in screen time, all we're going to get out is
what we've taken in
from
and that screen.
Typically, it's not the best. It's just average nonsense. Number 2, unplanned time. Unplanned time. This one is super difficult for me. I don't like unplanned time. I need a plan.
I don't mind it.
I think one of the hard parts about unplanned time for me is I feel so unproductive, and that's where I struggle with rest, is not being productive. Take it from maybe a biblical principle. During the Sabbath year, so every 7th year, the Israelites were supposed to give the land rest. They were supposed to just take this time where it was complete cessation from work. Cessation?
Cessation.
Is that
ceasing?
Ceasing, yeah, completely ceasing. Words are hard. From work. It's like not filling all of our time, all of our day with activity. One of the things that I think about, and it kind of ties in with no tech time, is not filling every silent moment with podcasting. I live 5 minutes from where I work and still will podcast in that 5-minute drive. Just because
you've got to be prepared for that, though, because I feel like by the time I get the podcast pulled up and play,
I'm always ready.
I'm there if it's a 5-minute drive.
I'm always ready for another podcast, and so I think some of these things where it's unplanned time, like it gives us rest, the same kind of rest the ground needed after 6 years of hard labor. Sometimes you just gotta breathe, let it out. There's some of those moments where you can do like unskilled hobbies. Like
what does that mean?
So an unskilled hobby, I think of things like reading. Like obviously you got to know how to read to be able to read. So maybe there's some slight skill to it, but not really. Like if you've gone through education system in your life, you know how to read. It's
What's
not
the difference between reading a book and watching a TV show?
The way your brain works. And now I would even say watching a TV show or watching a movie is also unskilled time. Like I lean into that, but I think they do trigger different parts of your brain for sure.
Because when you read it, you're imagining the things that you're reading, whereas for a TV show, it's showing you on the screen.
Yep.
So you don't have to think about it.
Yep. So unskilled time, if we're using movies or TV shows as our unskilled time, we have to not scroll also, because that's just. Why would you have a thing on the TV and stare at another screen?
Which I'm guilty of that, so I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Because I know I've done it.
I think there are some moments where we can call social media, screen scrolling, whatever you want, our unskilled time, but that shouldn't be our default.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It's just, I guess, using your brain.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, skilled hobby time. I think for this, like, because one of the points here is like skilled task that you enjoy but not paid for. There are a few things that I like to make and sell. So there are times where like it's like, okay, am I making this for fun or am I making this to make a buck?
Yep.
Which is still fun to me.
Yeah, you can have fun with your work, for sure. But I think we just sometimes have to differentiate. So when I think about a skilled hobby, I always think about disc golf, because it takes some skill to play disc golf. Not that I've got much skill in it, but I know a little bit about how to play. But nobody's ever going to pay me to play disc golf. There are people who get paid to play disc golf, yes. But I will never, ever, ever be that person. It takes skill. I sometimes stand in the backyard and practice it.
But it's for fun.
But it's just for fun. It's something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, skilled hobby time. Contemplative time. Contemplative. I'm just kidding.
No.
That's the way my brain wants to read that word.
Contemplative
time. AKA time you're sitting and thinking. So this is like meditating. It's moments of solitude. Maybe you're journaling, you're reading, you're reflecting. You're just trying to focus in on a specific thing, and my recommendation would be some scripture somewhere along the way, because ultimately,
or prayer.
Yeah, or prayer, absolutely.
You can meditate, journal, and sit in prayer.
Yeah,
reflect.
That's perfect. I think about this because reflecting on the salvation we have in Jesus, it gives us rest from having to establish our own worth.
Yeah.
I think we
We
often
naturally go for a work base.
Yeah, we're looking to work. We're looking to earn. Where's my value come from? It's this job. It's how much money I make. These kind of things that just we gravitate to them. But when we can sit and think and reflect on the sacrifice of Jesus and what He said we're worth, that's what I think about when I think about the sacrifice of Jesus. Is the fact that He looked at each and every one of us and said, "You're this valuable."
Yeah.
Therefore, I don't have to find my value anywhere else because nothing else is going to say I'm as valuable as He said I am.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that you didn't do anything to receive it.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Good.
just accept. Mm-hmm. Another one is aesthetic time. And again, this is like me going out in nature, enjoying creation. But we are all creators. I will always say that we are all creators because we are made in the image of the Creator.
Yep.
Therefore, we can find rest when we enjoy our own creations or the creations of others, like music, art, just something that, you made, I guess.
Yep.
It's just like the beauty of creation is kind of what I'm thinking here.
Yeah, I mean, God said it was good at the end of every day of creation, and He didn't just mean, hey, it works right. He also meant, man, look how beautiful this is.
Look what I made.
I mean, legitimately. And so there's something uniquely filling about aesthetic time when we can just enjoy beauty, creation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nurture relationships. Think about the fact that He is a relational being. He is 3 in 1. It's a whole conversation and multiple podcasts. But He is 3 in 1. He exists in a community all by Himself, and He designed us in His image, which means we are designed to be in community. I mean, I'm going to dig a little deep for a moment. I mean, literally Genesis 1 and then into Genesis 2, there's the one human, and then the one human becomes the 2 humans, but even the 2 humans are returned to unity and oneness in their marriage. Like, there's this automatic community that's designed to be together. Nurture these kind of relationships that man, they strengthen you, they fill you, replenish you. That doesn't mean run away from people that don't. No, we're meant to lean into those as well. But in order to handle some of those well, we need to lean into the people that do.
Yeah, I think
fill us.
In ministry or as a Christian, you might feel that calling to minister to others. But there's also the other side of it where you need to be. I don't want to say minister to is not necessarily the word I'm looking for there, but you need to also be filled up. Yeah, thank you. So sometimes it's hard to turn that off, like not turn it off, but just take a break from always giving to others, and then allowing yourself to be filled up. And so some of the ways that you can do that, like tangibly, I just wanted to say this is like, find your people that, spur you on in the Word, that encourage you in Christ, that can correct or give you that gentle rebuke when needed, and you can talk about your sorrows, you can talk about your highs and lows and what you're learning in the Word and all that. And that might look like a life group, that might look like a discipleship group, that might look like your family group, like your literal family. It could be your friends that you grew up with or that you're surrounded with now. Just find those people and hang out with them. Go for coffee, go for dinner. Make that time for those people as well.
All right, last one we'll talk about is Sabbathing at work, and I'm going to give you one more analogy for Sabbathing, or one more analogy from farming. So, in the Mosaic laws, God told them not to farm and gather all the way to the edges. he said, man, leave some that's on the edges. If you drop stuff while you're carrying the bushel over there, just let whatever you drop fall and stay where it is. AKA, don't take it all the way to the margins.
Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. Don't look for all 110% of everything in your workday. And I say this to me specifically. We have a tendency to strive for that 110%, when really we probably need to be living in that 75% range, leaving margin, because it's in some of that margin where we're going to enjoy our work a little bit better. We're going to be able to be creative and think about some things in the future. If you're constantly filling your day with more and more and more, you can't really be creative and problem solve or dream for the future if you're burning it all up every single moment of the day.
Yeah, and in that extra percent, like if you're only only producing 75% or whatever, that extra percent that you're leaving, that margin, it leaves room for you to do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So for one example, the gleaning laws that they had about not, like leave something behind, it actually would provide for widows and orphans and poor people. That was one way that God, enforced his people to care for the vulnerable or the marginalized. And so for us, like, we think, because my immediate thought was like, if I was at my old job where I worked in an office and there was people around me, if I was 100% production, which sometimes was expected of certain like managers and things, and what I saw when they were going at 100% production, they lost out on the relationships in their workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was like, I might be getting, so when I went home, it was like I had to track my time. And it was like, what am I missing? I'm missing the 5 minutes it takes to walk down to the break room and grab a cup of water. I'm missing the 10 minutes it took me to talk to my coworker across my desk and have a conversation about, the experience we had with the client the day before. Or asking the person you only see every now and then, like, how their week has been. And that community, which is a part of work, is important. For you and for them, and it could even be caring for another person, like those laws allowed for. So like if you were going at 100% production in work, then you're missing out on other things that you could be doing. So just want to say that was all of them.
No, that's good. So find ways to Sabbath, to take rest. Obviously, you're not going to use all 7 of these in 1 week, more than likely. You might have a week that you do, but most of the time, you're probably going to be leaning into 2 or 3 of these. But remember, we talked about that shalom, that completeness. We're not going to really find good completeness until we're exercising rest in multiple different ways. Mm-hmm. Again, not every single day, not every single week, maybe not even every month that you get every single one of these in, but find where you can.
Different ways to rest.
Mix it up some.
Yeah.
Try and find new ways to lean into some of these.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as we take stock, as we're trying to honor the Sabbath by resting, God has given this Sabbath to us as a gift. It's a command, and it should be received and enjoyed. Because without Shabbat, there is no shalom.
So there you have it. We are on vacation and we are enjoying our peace and our rest that we've had this week. And we are ready to go back into our normal lives and see our daughter and get back to work. But we just wanted to share this with you because it was kind of on our heart. We thought it kind of went along with our dimensions of wellness. Since we took a break from that while we were on vacation, we thought we'd share this part of our lives and what we think we could encourage you with when it comes to resting and finding that rest.
Love it. Well, thanks for joining us on the podcasting journey. We're so glad you guys were here. Make sure you head to bolesoflife.com to find all the things going on in our world. Join our email list while you're there. That way you always find out when we've got things happening. Wherever you're listening from, whatever podcasting app or YouTube that is, be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up or a rating, any kind of reviews.
5 stars.
Positive words. We love all your positive words. And hey, somebody finally did it. It's not going to make it onto this episode, but we'll drop it on the next one.
What?
Virginia, I don't even think I told you.
No.
Somebody finally went and told us what was messy in their life that they're loving. It's been recorded for us, so we'll make sure that makes it
next time.
on the next episode. But you can also show up on an episode by going to bolesoflife.com/podcast and telling us something that's messy in your life that you're loving. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you soon.